And before I forget, I'm going to introduce myself. I am Brianna. I am the Membership Engagement Outreach Coordinator here at IJ. And I will pass it to my lovely colleagues who are here tonight as well to help with tonight's meeting. So I'll pass it to you, Adriana.
Thanks, Brianna. Hi, everyone. It's good to be in space on the second Wednesday of the month, or is this the third Wednesday? I have no idea what day it is anymore. But thank y'all nonetheless for joining us on a not regularly scheduled day. Appreciate y'all switching up with us on this. My name is Adriana. I am the statewide advocacy manager here at Initiate Justice. For those that may not know me, it is a pleasure to have y'all in space. I think I see maybe like one or two new names. So thank you for being here. And with that, I will pass it down to the box below me, which is you, Antoinette.
Hello, good evening. My name is Antoinette Ratcliffe. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the executive director here at Initiate Justice and super excited to be in space with all of you tonight. And I'll pass it to Alyssa. Have you gone?
No, I have not. Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Rodriguez. I'm the executive assistant here at IJ. I've been part of IJ for a year now, over a year now, and I've started with IJ as an outside organizer in 2022. It's been a while now. It's crazy. Time flies. But regardless, excited to be here with y'all and show y'all what we have planned for 2025 and just be in space with y'all tonight as we navigate uncertain times here in LA. And I'll pass it back to Brianna.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And once again, for folks who are just joining us, feel free to use the chat box to share what brought you here tonight. And if it's your first time, let us know how you heard about us. And also, if you have not done so already, we're going to drop the link to our tiny URL where you can sign up to become an official member, or just if you already are an official member and kind of want to bump that up again, join this tiny URL where you'll be able to receive monthly updates, official announcements, and our digital newsletter, which will now go from quarterly to monthly this year. So you'll be hearing a lot more from us, and we're excited to kind of implement that this year. And also just a reminder to just stay muted while we speak throughout tonight's meeting, just to avoid any background noise. And just use the chat box to ask any questions until you're invited to come off of mute. And just to kind of kick off tonight, I'm going to go over the agenda review. The housekeeping already kind of went over. And then we're going to start with a grounding exercise, kind of just hold space and kind of just take a moment to sit with ourselves before we go into some heavier news, and also just hear what we have planned for the new year. And we'll also be sharing some updates around the LA wildfire, sharing some resources that you all can utilize, and just hold space for what's happening in our community. And then following that, we'll be talking about our plans for our outside membership and outside organizing department this year. And then we'll end with what the legislative landscape looks like for this year, and hearing from our executive director, Antoinette, around what that looks like, and answer some questions that you all have. So with that, I will go ahead and kick off the grounding exercise. Folks can feel free to stay on or off camera while we do this, whatever feels comfortable for you to just hold space in this moment. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
Thank you for joining me for today's practice. Let's take a comfortable seat, perhaps with a cushion or block to elevate your hips. Allow yourself these first few moments to settle in, making any necessary adjustments. Once you're ready, gently close down your eyes. Start to notice your breathing, gently deepening and slowing down your breath. Take a deep inhale through the nose and out through your mouth. Once more, just like that. Deep inhale through the nose and out through your mouth. Allow your face to soften, releasing the jaw, the shoulders, and allow the crown of the head to lift up towards the sky as you ground down through your seat. Sensing the length along the entire spinal column. Begin to notice the breathing coming in and out of the nose. Perhaps sensing the coolness of the breath as you inhale and the slight warmth of the breath as you exhale. Allow the breath to be as it needs to be. Some breaths might be long, some might be short. One breath gently cascading into the next. Imagine your mind to be as spacious as a vast, open, clear sky. And any thoughts, sensations, or feelings that arise are like clouds that simply pass through. Observe and recognize them, but no need to engage or respond. Creating the space for whatever needs to be present to be here. Notice the space that you've created and continue to lightly follow your breathing. Place your left hand over the center of your chest and then your right hand on top of the left. You may feel the grounding sensation of the hands on your chest and allow the breath to softly deepen into that space. With each exhale, softening and letting go. Three more breaths, just like that. Inhaling into your hands. And as you exhale, letting go. Allow your hands to release down by your side onto your thighs. And when you're ready, gently blink open the eyes.
I'll give folks just a bit to come back into the space. Feel free to come back on camera, whatever feels comfortable for you. I hope everyone was able to like take a moment and breathe and just kind of ground themselves before we get into our discussion. We really did want to start with just having a discussion about the recent wildfires that have been happening in Los Angeles and just the devastation that's been happening to our communities. And just like really uplifting the not only just the impact of the community and how critical it is for us to just center community care right now and just show up and support, but also recognize that a lot of our incarcerated folks, they're essential to fighting this fire. And they're often lost people, like the last people to be evacuated to safety during these times. So that's also a conversation that we wanted to have and just kind of invite you all into space. If you feel called to, and just kind of share what you may be feeling, what may be going on, but also share resources for one another so we can all kind of just join hand in hand and really like uplift and support our communities in the way that they need to be right now. So we were able to compile some resources, and this isn't all of them, and we'll also be sharing these in our recap email. But some of these are just news sources that you're able to get some reliable news from. Their tags for social media are on here. You can also look these people up as well. Some volunteer opportunities, some shelters, and then also some resource documents. Especially one to uplift is the mutual aid resource sheet. It's a huge, extensive Excel Google sheet that includes all these different resources, from volunteering to shelters to donation centers, all of that. It covers all. So we really just like wanted to take a moment to acknowledge what's happening, give you all space to kind of share what you may be feeling if you are comfortable to, and just yeah, be in space and recognize these times.
I can hop in just to break the ice, right? Um, I don't live in LA, so I'm not personally impacted, but I think something that I've been sharing, with the team here at IJ and just with, family and whatnot, is this fire to me it feels very, very different for me. I think with past fires, we've had bad fires in the state before, but I think with this one, for me, just personally knowing so many people that are impacted, it was really rough for me for a little bit. And I really had to sit with it because it was just like so much devastation. Um, and really wanting to, like, feeling a little helpless because, like, I'm up here, I live in Stockton. So I'm like, I'm up here and I'm like, I want to just get in the car and drive down there and pick up a rake or whatever I need to do to like help community. That's what I felt like doing. It's what I was led to. But then I had to like also realize like, okay, there's other ways that I can be useful. There's other ways I can be helpful. So I've also been sharing information like on my Instagram, my personal Instagram, and then just reaching out to folks to see like, hey, are y'all okay? I heard you were impacted. Like, can I help in some type of way? So it's just been very surreal, I think, and just seeing um, all the devastation, like I said, and seeing so many people that like I know personally being impacted. It just feels very, very different, and it's hard to put into words, but yeah, it's just different. But yeah, my heart is definitely with everybody, and everybody that's impacted, and even if you're not like directly in the path of the flames, right, like still like the fallout from all of the ash and the burn and everything is it's going to be impactful. So just sending my thoughts and prayers to everybody down in Southern California, particularly those like in LA County for sure.
Thank you, Adriana. I've seen Sherry also, you raised your hand, and then also curious, Dawn, I don't know if you're still in Monrovia, but I know you're likely, or family and friends are impacted as well. So definitely Sherry, and then curious, I know Dawn started sharing some additional resources too.
Yeah, I'm in Orange County. I see it like the rest of you up north and everything. We're just watching it on TV, but the realization hits you a little harder when the ash is falling on your own home, and the smoke is coming into your lungs. It's very, very sad, very frightening. You do feel very helpless. Even this close, I feel very helpless. I don't want to get in the way. I'm not of any use to anybody, with what they have to do. But I just want to share with you that I've been around a long time. This has never happened. This is very, very different. And I've seen fires my whole life. I've seen wind my whole life. Santa Anas are not new, but the combination that we just went through is totally different. It's not normal. And I just pray for everybody that's had to go through this horrible experience. And I pray that we can figure out how not to have it happen again. But I don't think there's anything we can do except to change a lot of other things, not just fire suppression. This is not a fire suppression problem. My ex-husband was a fireman. He was an LA City fireman. He's been in brush fires. This was not a brush fire. This was very different. And all we can do is pray and be there for the people the best we can. And thank you for talking about it tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sherry. And also acknowledging that, like, while we feel helpless, there's always something, right, that we can be useful and helpful and impactful with or for. So definitely think about like, the other ways that you might be able to help and support. And yeah, thank you for sharing. I know, Dawn, you had your hand raised, and I know you hopped into the chat. So curious to hear how you're doing, how your family and friends, your community. Yeah.
I'll share. So, I was actually up in the Eden Canyon fires when they were happening. So Wednesday in the middle of it, I was actually there. And I tell people like to see it on social media and to see it on the news is one thing, but to actually be there, like I literally felt like I was in the video game Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I'm not even lying. And just seeing like, I mean, like, and it's sad because like you hear the stories like firemen were going up to the fire hydrants and they were dry. I saw that firsthand. And that's sad. Like we live in a fire state. Like it really bothers me because like I saw like people like the devastation, like people, the panic, like people and like no water. Like we're trying to put out hose, like the fire, and literally we're grabbing hoses and like drops are coming out. And like we had no choice but to just walk away and just there's nothing we could do. So like I think like, and I tell people like I had to leave out of town like yesterday, the day before yesterday, just because like if you live in LA and you're not affected, like you're not affected by this, you're not human. Because like I've had a heavy heart since the fire started. Like I've tried to, I mean, me and Roberta, like we've volunteered, we've tried to get, like partner with a bunch of organizations and try to see like how we could give back. I mean, just looking for people that like are in need of essentials. Like I work at Pasadena City College. Like today I dropped off some essentials to another family. And there's no words. Like one of my friends was affected and I literally went to her house and like she's giving back to the community like you would never believe, like if she wasn't affected, and like her whole garage burnt down. Her backyard was completely burnt. Like by the grace of God, her house was untouched. But it's just like I have no words. Like I've like, and just like she said, I've been through some crazy things in my life. I've seen crazy things. I mean, from death to shootings to this to fires. I went to school in Malibu High School. So like I was part of the fires when the fires happened way back when. So I remember those fires, but like, and I was even asking like firemen, every service officer, like, how long have you guys been working? How long has you been in career? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Every single one of them said they've never seen anything like this in their life. And it's just like, I just tell people like, maybe you guys will open your eyes the next time the elections are there, because you guys voted these people in and these people failed us. They failed us. They failed our city. And like, we have to like, and it's sad because we can't even depend on the government to help all these families. Like we're depending on the community at this point and the resources the community has. So like I'm just been really bothered, and like I just wish that like I was a multi-billion trillionaire, because like I would just rebuild their whole city myself and just give them everything I possibly can. But unfortunately, I'm not there, but like I could offer all the resources that are available to them. So like, yeah, so thank you for allowing me to vent. And like I said, there's millions of resources at Pasadena. If anybody knows anybody that's been affected, like contact me directly, because I mean, like my friend, she opened her entire house, and her entire house is like a store. So if anybody needs anything, and even if you haven't been directly affected and you still need some essential items because times are hard, please reach out to me. And like we have cases and like you wouldn't even believe, like there's enough for like the whole city times 10. So like if anybody, like never hesitate to reach out, and I'm just here, and thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dawn, and sending so much love and sending so much peace over your nervous system, right? As you as like you carry this. And also just like thank you for offering like what resources and support you have available or have the power to direct people to. So if you would be so kind to like maybe drop your email, or like
Yes.
what's the best way for people who
And
either
I just
they
had to show off
themselves.
my shirt, guys.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes, I'll leave
definitely.
my phone number and my email. And like I
Okay.
said, don't hesitate. Please reach out.
Definitely. I see Sharon's hand, and I am also going to put myself back on mute.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sharon Larson. Am I muted? My name is Sharon Larson, and I'm a alumni of Cal State LA, class of 2022, a part of Project Rebound, and I also work with Dawn at Pasadena City College Core Program. And I was terribly affected by these fires, even though I live in Pomona. People close to me at Cal State LA lost their homes. A lot of people I know and work with had to be relocated, evacuated, and the trauma and the last minute, just the all the stuff that was going on behind doing this. Find somebody they could relocate to and whatnot. And there's so many people that have just really gone through a lot of stuff because of this. And like Dawn said, I piggyback a lot. The people that got elected that are lowering the fire department's funding and the dry fire hydrants, if that's so inhumane. I mean, my God, this is, and who would ever thought that something like this would happen? But in the meantime that it did happen, no water in the the fire hydrant, lack of funding for the firemen that risk their lives to do this. You know what I mean? And I'm just really sad, but I'm just thinking positive and keeping all those that are going through stuff with their families, their youngsters, and their fur babies, that everybody's okay. And yeah, I'm here too if anybody needs any somebody to talk to. I mean, I have resources also. And I'm grateful to meet everybody. I heard about your program through several people and then through Dawn and Roberta. So I Googled you and I just wanted to see, be a part of it, because that's my passion. Working with Project, I'm formerly incarcerated myself, working with Project Rebound from 2016 till I graduated in 2022, and now working with Core at that's giving back and being there for those who need, that I've walked in their shoes before. And thank you for letting me speak. And it's nice to meet all of you and good to see you, Dawn and Roberta. And I hope to build friendship and community with all of you guys.
Yes, we love you, Sharon.
I love you, Mo.
Yes, forever.
And I met, I believe it's Adriana that lives in Stockton. Back in the 90s, they had a women's prison that used to be a juvenile. It was called NCWF, Northern California Women's Facility. And that's about all I've seen of Stockton and the Stockton Greyhound bus station. That's a nice little area, though. All right. Thank you.
We're doing okay out here. We're doing all
I
right.
know that's right. All righty.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, thank you for being here for real and
Yeah.
for sharing a piece of you and your story. and yeah, as I said, I dropped it in the chat, again, echoing, what Antoinette said, thank you, Dawn, and everybody else who's been dropping things in the chat or sharing thoughts. As I said, for those that may have just joined or joined late, right now what we're doing is we're just taking some time. It's been a rough start to 2025. These fires in LA are very, very real, impacting a lot of people. We've said it already. This is something very, very different than something we've ever seen before. And so we are just taking some space to simply acknowledge that. And we wanted to create space for our community to share resources, thoughts, reflections, frustrations. We have a few more minutes in this space, so I want to make sure that if you want to share, that you are able to. Feel free to drop in the chat. You can also raise your hand and come off mute. But we definitely don't want to rush past this moment without giving everybody the chance to share before, like, we don't want to just hop into business, right? Like, we want to pause, right? We want to pause and reflect. So if anybody else is called to share, again, thank you, Sharon, Dawn, everybody who shared. I know Anna dropped something in the chat. All righty.
I can
Oh, I
go.
see someone coming off mute. Go ahead.
I'll go. I think for me, I live in the southeast side of LA, but even living out here, you can see it in the air. You can see the smoke in the air, the ashes falling even from this far towards the Long Beach area. Um, my uncle delivers out in Venice, which is right near the Palisades fire. He said even from like miles, 30 miles away, he could still see like how big the fire was. He could still see the flames, like even from that far, right? Like, and see the smoke and the black smoke, right? So, and he said like even him, he's delivering, like there's ashes all over his van, like, and all over the packages he's delivering, right? So, and he says like I can feel it in my eyes, I could feel it in my nose, like my nose, my throat. So, I think just thinking about also those people, like the firefighters, right? The times they're navigating, also the is quote unquote essential workers, right, that are still out there having to just navigate still working in those conditions. And then recently at what was it, like during the peak of the fire, well, still peak fires, but like when it had first started, I was out in Pomona with my friend and we were by her house and she lives near a freeway and we just saw a bunch of black smoke and like red, like reddish, not red, but orangish flames. And we're like, wait, what is that? Like, is that a fire? And we were like, does the fire department know about this? So we call 911. They're like, yeah, like it just started. Like the firefighters don't know about it. Like we're gonna try and put it out. And it was crazy because even from like miles away from the freeway, even though she doesn't live near it, we can still see like the color of the flames, right? So just seeing the gravity of the fires as well. But I think one of the things that I hope people take out of this, right, and moving forward is like it's gonna take a lot to rebuild parts of LA. But I think people continue to grow and like the mutual aid that we're seeing, right? And people supporting one another and seeing that community does care for each other and communities can come together, right, and support one another. So, and like Hadan said, right, and that people get more active in political decisions, right, that are going to affect them in the longer, right. A lot of times life has happened and people don't think like, well, I'm too busy to get involved, right. But it's like, now that this has happened, it's like, I hope people take away, like, I can't be too busy because look at what happens, right. How do we come together as a community? So, and some of the others are saying if it kind of feels helpless in a sense, but I've also been donating and not this week, but the end of this weekend, I'll be out there volunteering my time to just help those out there that are still navigating and stuff and donating stuff. So it's a lot, but I'm happy that we're all in space and never feel like you can't vent here. And all thoughts are welcome. Like we're all navigating uncertain times. So yeah, if anyone else has anything else to share, but those are my thoughts. Even though I'm all the way out here, you could still see the effects and I'm over here praying for everyone out there and who's lost their home and had to displace themselves. I even know some members who had to evacuate all the way out to Palm Springs. So, yeah, and they had no water. Some of them are still out of power. So, yeah, sending love to everyone and everyone here as well. But I'll pass it back to Brianna or anyone else who wants to share.
Thanks. Before we pass it or before we move on, we're doing a little chatting in the chat. But I want to acknowledge Adam, our Inside Programs Associate. He's here right now on his own time, but he's here, but wanted to share a little bit about incarcerated firefighters. It's very hot button issue right now, and we want to make sure that we sort of highlight and acknowledge all of the work that they are doing and also shine a light on the importance of why we need to increase their pay and all of those things. Go ahead, Adam.
For sure, for sure. Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? My name is Adam Kane, Inside Program Associate with Initiate Justice. Thank y'all for showing up. It's really important. Community is important, and echoing everything that was said. I think these times right now is happening for a reason. Let's kind of just looking at the officials and people that we got in office and how different things is panning out, and how things is being exposed. I think as a community, especially for us being the grassroots, now is the time to really make some noise when it comes with community, because we are the community leaders, right? We are out here, whether it's helping people in the rubble or it's people that's doing mutual aid, right? There's so many hands that's being stretched and giving back and helping. And just to speak to speak on behalf, I guess, the incarcerated firefighters, shout out to them, to not only just the men's but the women in them as well, right? That's on these fires. A lot of people don't know. They are the ones that's literally in the middle of the fire. Like from the way that they getting trained from Cal Fire. Just give a little quick background. Cal Fire is a state entity as well as CDCR, but they do have a contract where people that are incarcerated can become firefighters and go through that program to help change lives. So it is a plus for when people come home, right? And it's a plus for people that's incarcerated, but I think the fact that it's still a lot of slavery in that and a lot of mistreatment in that, it just needs to be raised awareness. You know what I'm saying? If they good to fight fires, and when I say they, I'm speaking about our people that's incarcerated. If our people is good to fight fires, then they should be good to have fair treatment and to be treated and loved as so. And so I think right now that's something that we have to kind of dig into and really raise awareness. I do have friends that was affected by the fire. That is, home, and then I have friends that's affected by the fires that are inside, doing the work. Even people that when I paroled from from the firehouse where I did a little bit of firefighting. I was gonna do it, but just at the time it just wasn't right for me, and my calling was more so with Initiate Justice and the work we do. So I decided to become a part of the community and really push forward. So yeah, we just gotta it's a lot that's going on. I think now let's have these conversations when y'all in these rooms. If I can encourage y'all to do anything, is when y'all in these rooms with whoever y'all in the rooms with, whether it's 1 or 2 people, whether it's 50 people, always bring awareness. You know what I mean? When you got the table to speak, speak on the issues, the main issues that's at hand right now. So yeah, that's how we're gonna continue to make change. That's how we're gonna continue to be able to have things come to fruition, is having these conversations outside of meetings like this, and then just be rejuvenated. Y'all lead with love, and yeah, thank y'all for showing up, and I appreciate it. And back to you, Adriana. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah. We definitely want to salute to all of our incarcerated firefighters, all of our firefighters, incarcerated or not, but especially our incarcerated ones. And as much as you can right now, uplift their story, uplift them. There's a lot of stuff going around on social media, whether it's on Facebook, on Instagram, just about their plight. Share it as much as you can so we can extend the reach and really put pressure on our elected officials to do the right thing when it comes to them. With that, I'll pass it. Oh, I see Antoinette. Did you want to say something? I saw you come off mute.
No, I was just gonna say thank you, Adam, for sharing, and also just thank you for being a part of IJ. Thank you for choosing IJ, and additionally, just acknowledging and echoing a lot of what's said here, a lot of what Alyssa said. Like, let this remind us how powerful community is. Let this remind us that community is all about love and safety and care and security that we can provide to one another. And let this also remind us of the various, failures of our system that create environments that are sometimes not secure in the first place. And remembering that like Adam named, right, our firefighters are on the front lines. They're in the middle of these fires, but oftentimes they're the last ones to have a safety plan, an evacuation plan, or any support maintaining their safety, without the autonomy to do so for themselves. And so just like acknowledging all of those things, sending so much love and peace and grace over everyone's well-being right now, your mental, your spiritual, your physical, because yes, this is really heavy for all of us. And LA will never be the same, and California will never be the same, and many families and communities will never be the same after this. And so as much as we can unite in community, in solidarity, we have to do so right now for sure. So just, and thank you all for taking the time to be here despite um, the very real disasters that California is looking at and facing.
Thanks, Antoinette. I'll pass it back over to you, Brianna.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Just echoing everything that Antoinette said, and just thank you all for being here tonight and just having this conversation with us and being in community and really like seeing how powerful we all can be together. I hate to transition out of this too, but we will be sure to share these resources as well and sharing just contacts. And if you all have more resources that you really want us to share out, like feel free to email any of us. We can share it on your behalf. So we just like love to just really come into power and just share these resources for the people who need it the most. So we will be here. And with that, I will transition into maybe something more lightly, like a look ahead into the year, some positive things. So we wanted to share some of the goals that we have set for our department this year, our outside membership department. So we really just wanted to share those with you all, kind of get you excited for what we have in store, and look forward to it. And yeah, so we'll get started with that. One of our biggest goals too is revitalizing our meeting spaces, these community meeting spaces, committee meeting spaces, and so on. We really want to have more in-person meetings, especially with this month. We were hoping to host that kind of hybrid version where some people, if able to, were to come to the office so we could be in person, just really be in space. We love to be in space with you all as much as we can and in community. But it's nice to have this flexibility. So when things like the wildfires happening and everything, we're able to kind of just assess and pivot and still be in space, but in a different capacity. But really our goal for this year is to just be more in person with you all, have more of these in-person opportunities. So in the future, we'll be having some more hybrid style meetings where you all can come and be in person with some of our team and join our meetings in person at our downtown LA office, but we'll also still offer the Zoom option for people who are unable to make it or maybe further out of LA. And then also too, with our meetings, we really want to have some increased state representative presence, and just kind of hear from them, like firsthand, us engaging with them and asking the questions. I think it feels super powerful to be able to talk to them and ask the questions that we want to ask and kind of put pressure on them in the way that they need to have that. So that's something that we're really hoping to have and look forward to. And then also just like inviting co-hosts, some of our outside organizers we'd love to invite and just be in space and kind of help us facilitate the meetings and have you all have a chance to hear from them, and also organizations or any community partners that we may have, just be able to come in and really share and just like all come together in power and how we can really uplift our communities and just support our communities in this work that we do. And then another big goal of ours is to expand outreach. So we want to implement like regular office hours for our members to be able to come to our downtown LA office, just drop in, chat with some of our team, just whatever it may be. You all can come in, get resources. Yeah, so kind of what that looks like, what you want that to look like. We can also just like be in space and just kind of like hang out. So whatever feels comfortable for you, that's something that we really want to have. And when we do have those office hours, we'll be sure to send those via email and give you all kind of some like advanced time of like when we'll be in office so you all can make plans on coming to see us. And then last, or within that too, we're hoping to expand reach in specific communities. So say if some of our members may want us to have a presence more in their community, or they want some more resources, we'll be able to kind of expand reach in those communities as well. And then we really would just want to have like more presence at resource fairs and like collaborative outreach. So whether it be like hosting events in collaboration with other organizations or folks, and also just like expanding our reach in more resource fairs and just finding more spaces for us to be in is something that we're looking forward to this year. And then last but not least, we are really hoping and looking forward to increasing member opportunities. So we'll be hosting more of our quarterly mail and data nights, which we actually have one upcoming, and we'll share more information around that at the end of the meeting. And also we're looking forward to hosting our second annual Mother's Day brunch. So we had a successful Mother's Day brunch last year, and really excited to carry that on again this year and just have that space for women in our community and just be sure to uplift them and everything. So we're really looking forward to that. We're also looking forward to having a legislative advocacy day. So having this gratitude day of action, there will be more information for that as well. Also just some community convenings and some more workshops is really something that we want to engage you all in. So be sure to sign up for the tiny URL so you can get all the updates around that and hear more news or dates around those things too. But that's just like a little bit of what we have in store too, and we'll be sure to like continue to update you all. And I'll also pass it to you, Adriana, too, after this, so you can put some more sprinkle onto that. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. A lot is in store, so we're excited.
Yeah, thanks, Brianna. Yeah, we're super excited for a lot of this. One thing I'll just add that's not on the slide is really pertaining to like our Institute of Impacted Leaders program. So our Institute of Impacted Leaders, for those that may be unfamiliar, is a 12-week organizing and training program that we've done almost every year since our inception. The last few years have been on Zoom. Last year, we started to bring them back hybrid style in the summer. So we did 2 cohorts in the summertime. So this year we will be doing that again, hosting 2 hybrid cohorts in the summer. So the locations, dates, times, all of that stuff will be announced soon. So stay tuned, follow us on social media, sign up to our newsletters, sign up to our listservs, all of that stuff, so you don't miss out on notifications. But I wanted to just drop that flag right quick to just let folks know that we are doing it again. It is coming back this summer. More information will be available soon. And that's really it, I think. I will add a little bit to also like the advocacy and civic engagement workshops, going a little bit more into Brianna's point of wanting to get back in person. And so we also really want to be able to bring some of the education in Institute to the general public and to general community members. Acknowledging that not everybody, even folks who are directly impacted by incarceration, not everybody is going to have the time capacity all of the time to do and dedicate time to a 12-week cohort. So for whatever reason, right? So it just depends on what person's capacity is at that given time. And so we wanted to be able to bring some of that information out, put it out in the public so it's a little bit more accessible to our members and our community, as opposed to just being housed in our Institute of Impacted Leaders curriculum. So we are excited about that. We are planning our first one for next month, the end of February. It will be in LA, at our downtown office, at our downtown LA office. So more information to come on like a specific time, but I believe we scheduled it for like Tuesday, the 25th or something like of that nature. I think it's on the next slide. But yeah, more information will come about that. But yeah, really, really excited to just kind of be in person and just have more opportunity for y'all to get involved with us. Legislative advocacy is another thing. Really wanting to bring y'all along on some of the things that we are going to be doing this year. So I'm going to be at the Capitol a bunch this year. If you happen to be in Sacramento or are around, I will let everybody know, like, hey, we're going to be at the Capitol. Come join us. Stuff like that. But we really just want to get back into that in-person feel pre-pandemic, when we really were connecting with everybody in person and there wasn't all these boxes all the time. So that's all I wanted to say about that. But Antoinette, I see your hand. Thank you. It says initiate justice, but that's Brianna. Thank you, Brianna, for dropping the links in the chat. But yeah, Antoinette, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And echoing everything that you've both shared, and also curious because I know we have like some people here who are joining us for the first time, some people here who maybe have been in our space for a very long time. So wondering like out of folks here, how many of you like have experienced a male night with Initiate Justice, and are interested in sharing like what that experience has been like, or if you've experienced any of these things in person spaces with us, or if you have not, what kind of like immediate questions are coming up for you as you're kind of hearing some of these spaces that may not necessarily be completely new to IJ, but might be completely new to you in particular? Yeah, Gina, nice to see you again.
I was gonna say the same thing. Is that Gina from yesterday?
It is.
Hi, ladies. Well, for the first time, I got to go to Sacramento with y'all and meet the newly elected officials that just got into office. And that was such a great learning experience to me. You guys make it look so easy. But I really, we were talking about it the whole time home because we're here in Santa Barbara, just how much we learned and how excited we are to be a part of the group. So thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way from Santa Barbara, right? All the way up to Sacramento. So thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all, they had a cooler and it was a whole road trip thing. So that's commitment. So I appreciate y'all. Anybody else want to share maybe what's exciting them about some of these things coming up this year, or yeah, like if you've experienced IJ before, like any thoughts and reflection? I can tell you I'm excited for the male nights. I am excited for those. I'm also excited for the second annual Mother's Day brunch. I'm just really excited. I'm just really glad that IJ is doing something like that. So again, thank you, Brianna, for bringing that to this organization and bringing that to us. And yeah, like I'm really excited about all of the opportunities that we are going to get to connect with somebody in person. So anytime that we get to connect with you in person outside of this box, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Did we already share a little bit about like what a male night is, or is that on like the next slide or something?
We did not share what a male night is because Ephraim's not here.
That's
But
okay.
we
I
can
can share.
share what a male night is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So just providing a little bit of context because I know a couple of people are new here. We even have like a former Inside member here. So Brandon, and again, just thank you for joining us and welcome home. But the male nights are a contribution to our Inside members. And so our Inside membership program looks like sending a journal, a political education journal, 4 times a year to people inside of our state prisons. We have reached over 60,000 unique people who are incarcerated since we've been sending this out. It goes out in English and in Spanish. It has resources, information, articles, tools, updates on legislation, things like that. And one additional aspect of it is people are able inside, whether they're on that Inside membership listserv or not, they are able to write to us. We have a PO box and we collect and read through hundreds and hundreds of letters from people inside who are requesting resources, asking questions, updates on legislation that might affect them, different things like that. And so we all get together in community in what we call male nights, or during what we call male nights. That can sometimes be virtual, sometimes be in person, sometimes be both. And we actually respond to those letters. We have templates for some responses, and then we, draft and write responses to others. And so it's a great opportunity to connect and provide support to people who are inside, and also to make sure that they are continuously looped into the fights and the advocacy that's happening here on the outside, and that they are supported and they are not forgotten about or left behind as we continue to do this work. And so that's what our male nights look like. Sometimes we have like staff, we have members, sometimes we have volunteers from various schools that might join us. And so it's a great opportunity. We make sure that y'all have food, and we make sure that it's a good time, and really looking forward to this next one that's coming up and having those in person again. And at our LA office, also an opportunity for you to connect with one another as well. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about our mail nights. We've been doing them for years now. We started doing them in person, and then we had to move to doing them virtually. And so one of my first experiences after graduating from the Institute of Impacted Leaders was actually connecting with some of my fellow graduates and hosting one out here in the Inland Empire with our families and our friends. And it was, yeah, a phenomenal experience, and one of my just like starting advocacy efforts with Initiate Justice. So yeah, I'll stop there. I know there's a lot of questions and things in the chat, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to some of them right now in the chat, but I did see one. Someone asked if we need to bring our own computer because the form says so. And yes, you will need your own like laptop. I think also like a tablet situation will do as long as you can like type on it and access Google Drive. The main thing you will need to be able to do is access Google Drive and respond to some letters and use some templates. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us as well, and we're happy to chat offline with you if we need to go a little bit more in depth. And we also may be scheduling a training too, depending on how many new folks we get signed up. And Sherry, I see your hand, so go ahead.
Well, since you're on this subject, something came up at my last visit with my son. I've been inputting for years now, addresses and getting the journal out to the guys, and it's very much appreciated. They really enjoy it, and it gives them a lot of information. But my son was telling me that he works directly with some of the CEOs, and they are losing their minds trying to do address changes. We need to maybe figure a way. I don't know if the database will do that or if we have to manually go in and do it. But they're sending them to the mailrooms. The mailrooms are sending them to the facility or to the yards, and these CEOs have to sit there and try and get these journals to people. So it's becoming a point of they don't want to do it. They don't have time to do it. It aggravates them. So some of the stuff is not getting where we want it to go because the addresses are not current. I know it's difficult because people move so much, but I was hoping a friend would be here because I know he kind of is the one that I've always talked to about this, but maybe you can relay it to him. We need to find some way, even if it's just the volunteers going in and double checking addresses on the big database. I don't know how you do it exactly, because I know we put the information in and then it goes off to somewhere else. So, but
I can shine some light on that, Sherry, and also may have some other questions for you. So I've actually just made a note to maybe like follow up with you, because each time before we send out the journal, we actually do have a process. So, okay, so first and foremost, when people write to us that their address has changed, we do also update it.
Right.
Everyone does not always write to us and let us know that their address has changed as far as like their building or their bed, etc. So there's that piece. But also before we send out each journal, we actually do get the most recent data we can from CDCR. So part of that may be that their data is not the most up to date, because we actually do reconcile those before we send out each mailing. It's an expansive list of 40,000 people, and we go in and there's a way that is updated. So I'm curious as to if this is if this is one particular institution that's maybe struggling with it, or has a lot more frequent moves where maybe we check the database and update it on a Monday, but we send the journal out on a that following Monday, because it might take a week for the printer to actually print everything. And in that week, maybe that because that institution has, thousands of people on our listserv, in that week, 100 of them have moved. And so that's a lot. So I'm wondering maybe if you could, maybe we can connect offline about like what institution this is. Is it an institution specific problem? We can find out if it's a CDCR wide problem, but we actually do have a very tedious but thorough process to do that before we send each one out.
Well,
However,
we all know
because
that the COs do not want to do this.
yes,
They do not want to sort mail. So I don't want people not to get the journal
mhm,
because there's some kind of a problem with that. That's the only way I was bringing it up. You
yeah.
know, but they're not happy about it, and so I'm sure it just sits there on their desk.
Yeah, and you know what? And the thing about that also is we can't like mass mail them because then it's considered like solicitation. So we can't just send a bunch to a facility and say
Oh,
just distribute this to everybody,
right.
because then it's like considered a solicitation, and they won't. So we have to send them to actual addresses and people who have given us the the permission to do so. So yeah, something for us to think about and maybe talk about a
Okay.
little bit more. But also
Okay.
know that between our last two, so if this was a recent issue, just a
Mhm.
little bit of additional context for our last two editions of the journal, because they're so close together, we send them out like within a month. That is one where there's not like really enough time and capacity to update the addresses because they go out back to back. So if
Right.
this was a recent one also, that could be part of it. But let's connect offline because I'm curious to hear a little bit more
Okay. Yeah. And the other
about what
thing
that
is
might
we
be.
had some closures, and so there was a lot of movement at different times. But like I said, I told him I would tell you guys.
Thank you. Please continue to, as you're hearing things, please continue to tell us, let us know. We also want to make sure that institutions are not stalling the distribution of this mail simply because they don't want to do it, because that's not a valid excuse. We are paying tax dollars for them to do their jobs. And so that's also something for us to keep in mind. And so, yeah, I want to make sure that we're talking about these things. So thank you, Sherry. We'll definitely connect and see what we might be able to do to make things better for our people to get their journals.
Just making sure we're keeping track on time. We still have a little bit of a legislative landscape to go over. So Brianna, I'm gonna pass it back to you to get us moving forward with your next slide and then transition us over into the next piece.
No need to show that slide yet. I'm gonna show that like at the end because it's just closing for
Oh, okay.
the links one last time. So I'll pass it to Alyssa to get started with the slides and then Antoinette to share. Thank you.
Okay, I am off mute. Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up? Yes? Okay, great. So we wanted to also spend some time talking a little bit about like what to expect as we approach the 2025 to 2026 legislative cycle, but focusing a little bit on like this year. So for those who might be new to advocacy, each legislative cycle is 2 years. So it's 2025, and then it's also all of 2026. And so this is the start, and every odd number year is the start of a new legislative session, in other words. And so we wanted to sort of just like provide some context around like what to expect, but also a moment of just like transparency and candor. I am tired of talking this week, so I'm going to ask for you all to kind of like participate in the conversation with me and make this a little bit more conversational and a little less of me like talking at you for the next 30 minutes. So just asking for that in advance. For those who maybe just hopped on, my name is Antoinette Radcliffe. I am the Executive Director here at Initiate Justice. I have been with the organization in a volunteer capacity since 2019 and officially as a staff member since 2020, and was appointed our Executive Director in 2022. So one thing that our organization is founded upon, that our founders, Taina Vargas and Richie Reseda, were very intentional about, is that we want to make this information accessible to everyone. We want to make it to where everyone can understand, like, what does it mean and what does it look like as we work to create change through policy campaigns and policy efforts, or even budget advocacy efforts, as we started to have to do a lot more. So going into 2025, things are going to look a little bit different, and some things the same as what they looked like in 2024. So first, to kind of get a temperature check of like who is in the room and like who I'm talking to, how our conversation will go, I'm curious if everyone can drop in the chat or feel free to come off mute if you, or by show of hands, you can like raise your hand on the screen. Do you know who your state senator is and who your state assembly member is? If you do, drop it in the chat. And if you don't, that is okay. You can actually find out in a matter of just like a quick couple clicks and quick, like putting in a little bit of information. If you go to findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov. So curious if people can kind of drop in the chat who your rep is if you already know it. And if you don't, I will actually drop into the chat that link to go find your rep unless someone beat me to it, where anyone can go find, thank you, Adriana, where anyone can go find who your representatives are. And once you find them, just like drop it in the chat so we can see who's in the room, where you're at. Ben, I see you raised your hand. Ben, who's your assembly member? Who's your senator? You can come off mute or you can drop it in the chat. Ransom and Eggman, you're over there by Adriana then? Yes, you absolutely are
It's
somewhere over.
McNerney. It's McNerney
Yeah.
now, not Eggman. Eggman, she
Ah,
turned out. She turned out. She
yes,
was,
yes.
but she turned out. So now it's Jerry
But
McNerney.
definitely Ransom. So that's I'm like, you're by Adriana when I've seen Radisha Ransom. Adriana's also an AD 13. Lorraine's got, let's see, Caballero and Adam Gray. Who else do we have?
Brianna's Tina McKinnon and Ben Allen.
Okay, we've got Gibson and Richardson. Yes, who replaced Bradford. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, Dorothy.
I have hopes for Richardson. I met her staff yesterday. I have hopes.
Good. We've got Pacheco and Gonzalez. Okay. Keep dropping into the chat as you either search it up or as you remember who your representatives are, because we're gonna talk a little bit about that. And then I think also something else that I was curious to see is how many people, and do this, you can just like raise your hand. I can see you if you raise it, or you can click it on the screen. How many people have been doing advocacy before this year? Okay, you've done some advocacy, Lorraine. Who else has been doing some advocacy statewide? Dorothy, of course. Okay, I know Ben has, I know Emiliano has, I know, okay, Edwin, amazing. Okay, so if you've been doing it before, then you have you're aware that things are going to change a little bit. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about that. But I'm curious if anyone who raised their hand about doing it before feels compelled to come off mute and like share, how do you foresee, based on like conversations this far, what are you expecting to change, or what are you expecting to look different for our advocacy for criminal justice reform efforts in the Capitol and across the state next year, or this year, actually. We're already in 2025, this year and next year. Go ahead, you could just come off mute.
Okay, I'll start. I'm expecting to see them more opportunities for the youth, to raise their awareness about drugs and gang violence, because that does lead to a lifestyle that leads to incarceration. So I'm hoping that there's more advocacy for the youth and allowing for preventative measures to be put in place, as well as for the incarcerated that have come about a frame of mind of change and more opportunity for them to advance and grow in the aspect of, a lifestyle that's going to be not punishing or holding over their head what they did in the past, but saying, welcome to your new life, just more opportunities.
I love that. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Did I hear someone come off mute? If not, I'm going to go ahead and jump in to our slides. So some of you are actually in some of the districts that we're going to talk about today, that are sort of very important for us to keep in mind. but there are some changes. We have a very large freshman class in the legislature. So these are people who are entering the legislature for the very first time. Those are opportunities, right? Opportunities for us to build new connections, opportunities for us to educate new representatives, for us to establish new relationships with legislators for purposes of allyship, new champions, things like that. And also, we lost some key friends and champions in the Capitol too. So we're going to talk just like a little bit about that. Looking at both of the houses, so in the Senate, we have 11 new senators. And for those who are new here, we have in our state legislature, we have 40 senators, we have 80 assembly members, and so we have a total of 120 representatives across the legislature. So in the Senate House, 11 of our senators are new. One thing, and we'll talk about all of the new folks, but one thing that we spend a lot of time talking about and focusing on is the Public Safety Committee. So any criminal justice related piece of legislation that goes through the legislature has to go through the Public Safety Committee. It is one of the first hurdles that we have to jump through. It is one of the first opportunities for us to like really advocate with our legislators, but it is only a subset of them. And so the Public Safety Committee is made up of a few representatives. This year we have a new chair of public safety. So Jesse Araguin, if I'm pronouncing that right, in Senate District 7, which represents some areas of Alameda, Contra Costa, and San Fran counties. So cities like Berkeley, Piedmont, Pinole, Alameda, Albany, Cerrito, Richmond, and some others. And Senator Jesse is new to the legislature. So that is, again, an opportunity for us. A few notable things to mention about Senator Jesse Araguin is one, that they are the former mayor of Berkeley. So anticipating ties and connections and influence there for sure. Also that Senator Jesse Araguin sponsored former Senator Bradford's SB 50 in 2023, which was intending to stop or limit pretextual traffic stops for minor traffic offenses. So that tells us that there's some understanding there of the flaws and the failures of our system and some opportunity there. First and foremost, I don't know if I've seen it in the chat. Is there anyone in here who's in Senate District 7? Did we see anyone in Senator Araguin's district? I don't think that I did, but just checking one more time. If you can, just drop it in the chat, because this is going to be an office that we're going to want to build a solid relationship with, because this person has a lot of influence over what bills do or do not make it out of the Public Safety Committee and continue the Senate Public Safety Committee and continue through the legislative process. Additionally, we also have some new committee members on the Senate Public Safety, and some of these individuals are completely new to the public safety sphere or this public safety issues, and so we're going to want to educate them as well. But as I mentioned, I briefly mentioned Senator Bradford. Former Senator Bradford, has been replaced by Senator Laura Richardson, who now holds the title as chair of the Senate Budget Sub 5. So what this is a subcommittee of the Budget Committee. Subcommittee number 5 focuses on corrections, public safety, judiciary, labor, and transportation. So this is going to be another area or another committee that hears and makes decisions on a lot of public safety related issues. And so Senator Laura Richardson, who is also completely new to the legislature, is also going to be a representative that we want to build a solid and a very positive relationship with. And so just pausing there, those are two representatives in the Senate House that we will definitely want to keep our eyes on as far as like new people who are new to the Senate, that we want to keep our eyes on, build relationships with, and also find opportunities to connect with. And so I think I've seen actually people in the chat who are in Richardson's district. So yes, Dorothy, we're going to be in communication, maybe do some meet and greets, whether it's in district or at the Capitol. We're going to need you to stand up this year, since you are in Senator Richardson's district. Through Senator Richardson's campaign, there was a heavy law enforcement influence or backing of her campaign. So that's something for us to be aware of. So we want to make sure that Richardson is not just hearing from law enforcement, but it is also hearing from our community members. Dorothy, curious if you wanted to share anything about like what your familiarity with or awareness is about Senator Richardson's views, perspectives, values, anything that you know thus far that you think we should know.
I'm not that familiar with her. The
Okay.
other person who was running against her, she came to Alta-C to my job, and she came there, but I don't know that Richardson had a meeting with my job.
Okay.
When I was working at Alta-C at the Port of LA, they're really connected with the port, and Tim McOsker, the who is now in City Hall, he used to be the CEO of Alta-C, and so there's definitely like a lot of people in San Pedro that talk a lot about like the police and stuff, but there's definitely a lot of influence in San Pedro. And I feel like when I was working at Alta-C, I met Bradford. I met a lot of our assembly members, senators. We would have site visits all the time. So I feel like they're at the port frequently.
Okay. That is good to know. It's also really important to know about our legislature. Yeah, who are they accountable to? Who are they listening to? And so thank you so much for sharing. I do want to be mindful of time, so I'm going to kind of move past the rest of these a little bit quickly, but trying to be as informative as possible. So also just saying that we have a historic, we're going to stay on the same slide just for a little bit longer, Alyssa. If you want to go back one more. We have a historic record of women in the legislature. And so I think we're either approaching or just about at gender parity in our legislature, with a lot of new females or women senators joining our freshman class. And so moving over to the Assembly. So the Assembly, same thing. We want to look at Public Safety Committee. We want to look at the Budget Committee. I'm going to focus on Public Safety. We have a new chair in Public Safety this year, and that is going to be Nick Schultz, which is like Burbank, Glendale area, something that is an opportunity for us. That should say, I think AD 45. I think I might have put the wrong, made a typo there, so I'll fix that later. But Assemblymember Nick Schultz was actually endorsed by our C4, Initiate Justice Action, which uses an abolitionist-based foundation or abolitionist-based values to determine their platform for endorsing candidates. And so that is something beneficial. We are optimistic about Nick Schultz holding the seat of Chair of Public Safety. So that is something for us to lean into. And then additionally, we have a new vice chair, which is Assemblymember Juan Alanis, new to the Public Safety Committee, not new to the legislature. This is Stanislaus and Merced counties. So Assemblymember, it is District 44. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. My numbers are escaping me. There are so many. There are 120. But Assemblymember Alanis, thank you for checking that, Alyssa. Assemblymember Alanis is a Republican, but is one who has historically voted yes on our criminal justice related legislation. The bills that Initiate Justice has sponsored, as well as some others. And so that is something to be optimistic about, so hopeful, but also uncertain if those views or those opinions and those decisions will shift at all in this new role and holding this new responsibility. Something to keep in mind. And we are still pending a committee assignment. So who else will make up that committee is something that we are still pending confirmation of. So I am going to move to the next slide now, and just like, here is a list of all of the new legislators who are joining joining us at the state capitol. And a couple of things, those who are highlighted in yellow, those are representatives who were endorsed by our 501c4 Initiate Justice Action. The ones in the Senate who you see stars next to their name, these are people who are new to the Senate House, but they are not new to our legislatures. They were previously in the Assembly and are now in the Senate. But as you can see, we have tons of new legislators. So it creates tons of new opportunity, but also could create new obstacles for us. We still have some of our champions and some of our allies, like Assembly members Bonta and Bryan. We still have Senator Becker, Senator Cortese. We still have Assembly member Hart. We still have Assembly member Calra. We still have Tina McKenna in the Assembly. We still have Smallwood Cuevas in the Senate. We still have Assembly member Lori Wilson. And so we still have Senator Wiener, Scott Wiener. So we still have some of our champions and allies, but we also lost some very influential and some very committed folks like Chris Holden, Phil Teen, Nancy Skinner. And so again, a little bit of some shifting, but also tons of new opportunities for us. So if you see your representative listed here, send me an email. I'll drop my email in the chat. Send me an email, send Adriana an email, because that is an office where we may want to set up a meet and greet for you to connect with that office, especially being that they are new to the legislature. We want them to hear from us before they hear from law enforcement or hear from us as often as they may be hearing from those who typically oppose our views and values. We can go to the next slide, and please feel free to drop questions in the chat so I can get to them. I want to make sure that all questions are answered as well. Okay, so criminal justice policy in 2025. What is that going to look like? What can we anticipate? So a couple of things. One, we can anticipate another difficult year ahead for criminal justice efforts when it comes to both policy, so passing bills, but also when it comes to some budget advocacy, because we are anticipating another difficult budget year, especially considering things that maybe we didn't plan for, such as the devastation and the crises that the wildfires are imposing on our state. That is going to heavily impact the budget, and that's something that we didn't anticipate, that we didn't see coming into 2025. We also will need to play a lot of defense, protecting our progress and stopping bad bills. So some of that defense will look like mitigating some of the harms of Prop 36, a fight that we lost in 2024 on the ballot. It'll look like also a lot of bills that are intending to impose or increase harsher sentences, legislation that is intending to make some of our wins maybe not apply to certain offenses or certain populations, something else for us to keep in mind. Bad bills that maybe are reverting to other types of tough on crime rhetoric, or we are also thinking in terms of like our communities who are migrating here from other countries being attacked and being criminalized. And so a lot of different things we're going to have to protect our progress. We are also going to have to stop new crimes from being added to the penal code and things of that nature. That also looks like protecting credit earning opportunities and early release opportunities, which are under attack. So Proposition 57, credit earning, compassionate release, and other early release opportunities are under attack this year. And so that will be a heavy piece of our work. And then also, as I mentioned, educating new electeds. We need to make sure that they are understanding the very real implications of their decisions when they are on the floor, when they are sitting on committees, when they are, making these political maneuvers out of strategy and things of that nature. We need to make sure that they are understanding what the real life impacts of those decisions look like in our communities. Some other things kind of just like along with that us and other organizations and partners in this space are thinking about and are focusing on in 2025 is bringing more advocacy, education, and opportunities to community. So something that we continue to hear in the Capitol is that our legislators are not hearing from or seeing us enough, right? Or we are not as loud as the District Attorneys Association. We are not as loud as law enforcement. We are not as loud as some of these other groups and lobbyists and folks who are influencing their decisions. And so we need to bring more tools and training to our community, and also bring more opportunities for you all to join us at the state capitol, join us in your district offices with your representatives, join us in influencing what our legislators prioritize, what they value, and what their votes are as they are considering all the different pieces of legislation they have to consider each year. And we will also be continuing the fight against felony disenfranchisement. We've seen with the outcome of this past election, we need our impacted people to be showing up and voting, but also we need for our impacted people to have the right to vote. And some do, but aren't able to exercise it. And as we know, those who are in our prisons do not. And then also leaning into local advocacy. This is for various reasons that I just mentioned. This is for things like making sure that we're protecting our progress. We're thinking about the implementation of some of our wins that we've recently had, and also building sort of like that local presence for purposes of influencing our legislators. So I'll provide one quick example. The new mayor of the city of Pinole is someone who has loudly and very immediately and strongly come out in support of ending felony disenfranchisement, which at one point was ACA 4 when we first introduced a constitutional amendment a couple of years ago. Well, Cameron Sasai, as a council member, came out in support and is now the mayor of the city of Pinole. The city of Pinole is in Jesse Ottawin's district, who is now the new chair of public safety, right? And so maybe there's a relationship there. Maybe there's some influence there. What will it look like to continue to build local relationships with people like Mayor Sasai, and who's in a district of someone who has significant influence over what pieces of our legislation do and do not make it out of public safety. That's just one example of how sort of local advocacy can be leveraged to advance our work and our efforts at the statewide level. I don't see any questions in the chat, and I am talking fast, but know that this is all being recorded, and so you can always go back and watch it, and hopefully the subtitles catch my words accurately. I will pause as we move to the next slide. Okay, so what does Initiate Justice, what does our policy work look like in 2025? So we are still shaping out our bill package. So what pieces of legislation will we be sponsoring through the legislative process? That is something we're still shaping, but it's going to continue in some of the areas we've worked on for a long time. Continuing to work on the Racial Justice Act, continuing to improve conditions for those who are currently confined to and living in our prisons. Continuing work to educate the legislature and move the themes that are related to restorative justice. So what are opportunities for us to make sure that our law has opportunities for people to actually grow beyond their harms, as opposed to be punished and cycled throughout, additional violence and harm. Also, how can we protect credit earning? Talked a little bit about that, and then also some budget advocacy. So for example, you all know that like our voting in jails, or some of you may know, some of you may not, but our voting in jails bill made it to the governor's desk last year and was vetoed, with the governor naming, hey, this is something that should be done in the budget, not through a policy effort. And so thinking through how might we be able to accomplish some access to the ballot box for those in our jails who already have their right to vote through some type of budget advocacy, and then also just in general budget advocacy to ensure that CDCR's budget does not continue to get bloated while other communities and other issue areas suffer from lack of funding. And so that will continue to be in our plight throughout this year and next year. And then also keeping in mind that we are active members of a myriad of different coalition spaces that are doing this work. Yes, Ben, this is getting a lot of, our incarcerated firefighters are getting a lot of visibility. Is there anything that we can, that can ride that wave? Yes, a bunch of us are meeting actually tomorrow, early afternoon to talk about like what efforts can look like there around protecting, supporting, compensating our incarcerated firefighters. So definitely more to come on that. The conversation is happening. We were at the Capitol yesterday and legislators are already asking and having conversations around what can they do and what can we put into the legislature this year to support, protect, and compensate our firefighters. So that is part of the conversations that are happening for this year. So thank you, Ben. And so to the different coalitions, we are part of all of these coalitions and then some. And so this work will continue to move forward, and some of these coalitions may actually produce pieces of legislation that we co-sponsor, some may not. So for instance, the California Black Power Network, that is an alliance. They do not actually propose legislation currently, but it is an alliance of organizations that are pushing forward advocacy efforts and campaigns that support our Black communities across the state. And we are a member of that coalition or that network. The California Dream Alliance does not sponsor legislation, but is a collaborative of organizations and advocacy groups from various issue areas and sectors, not just criminal justice, but racial justice, education, environmental, economic, labor, all of these different things. And we are a member of the California Dream Alliance. And then some of the very criminal justice specific ones look like the Criminal Justice Coalition. I'm sorry, the California Justice Coalition, which is a group of us who are particularly working on criminal justice focused legislation. There is the California Alliance for Parole Reform, working on how do we, one, educate, but also transform what our parole process looks like across the state. The California Restorative Justice Policy Coalition. This is like CAPR, a newer one that we are also, a part of, founding members of. We are also part of the California Free to Vote Coalition. So again, ending felony disenfranchisement will always be a priority. And then we're also part of the Debt-Free Justice Coalition. So what does it look like to end and also mitigate the impacts of criminal and court fines and fees? That is still something that we will continue to do work alongside our partners on. And so these are some of the coalitions and some of the issue areas and some of the different things that you can expect to see from Initiate Justice, to learn about, hear about, advocate for alongside us for the upcoming legislative cycle. I will pause. That was a mouthful, and I'm sure there may be some questions, but also I am sure my team is waiting for me to pause to tell me that we are just about at time, or exactly at time, actually.
I didn't see any questions in the chat. There was a question from Ben. I think you kind of addressed it already, just around like the incarcerated firefighters and like riding that wave. And so I don't think there's a way to like answer that question. There is a lot of conversation happening around that right now. So I think folks are definitely looking to ride that wave. But I don't know if you want to speak any more to that piece, Antoinette, or yeah.
I'll just briefly say, like I mentioned, I know I said it really swiftly, Ben, but the conversations are happening. They're happening amongst us as far as like community-based organizations. And they're also happening, at the legislature. People are beginning to like ask these questions of what can we do. So no real concrete piece of legislation today that I can deliver to you that, hey, this is something we'll be working on, which is going to address A, B, C, and D. I don't have that for you today, but again, stay looped into our efforts. We will absolutely be sharing updates with the community as we begin to solidify our bill package. And then, can career pathways be put in place through funding for workforce development? That is a great question. Our state talks about workforce development often, and a huge missing part of that conversation is workforce development for those who are returning from incarceration. So don't know if that is an opportunity. Something first and foremost is that oftentimes our incarcerated firefighters, when they are released, run into tons of barriers actually being able to get employed as firefighters for a myriad of different reasons. One of those being getting their records. expunged. And so these are some of the things that we are thinking about, and we'll definitely take into consideration like what might it look like for that to be, or, you know, for incarcerated firefighters to have a pathway to employment through something such as workforce development. Not well versed in the workforce development area, but a great suggestion, something to think about. Dorothy, thank you.
With that, I will pass it over to Brianna to take us into our close. If there's no other questions.
Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here in space with us tonight and just engaging in this conversation. As I mentioned before, we'll be sharing all the resources that we shared in the meeting. And then also, folks can feel free to email us with more resources that they may come across so we can share them widely to the community. But until we see you next, we wanted to share just some upcoming things that we have so you all can put it on your calendars. And thank you, Adriana, for dropping that in the chat. So first, that's coming first is our first mail night of the year, which is going to be in person at our downtown LA office. Be sure to RSVP through the tiny URL that was dropped in the chat. That'll be happening on January 29th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then we'll be having our February community meeting that will be happening Wednesday, February 5th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. That one will also be fully virtual, so folks can just log on through Zoom. And then just some other things to put on your calendars and on your radars. There'll be more information coming soon about them. But on Tuesday, February 25th, we are going to be hosting a policy and community organizing workshop. And then Saturday, May 10th, we'll be hosting our second annual Mother's Day brunch. As I said, there's going to be more information coming for that, so just be sure to keep an eye out. And thank you all again for being here tonight in space with us. It's always nice to have you all in just these conversations and just be in community. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to the team.
Thanks everybody for being here and hanging out with us a little longer.
Nice meeting everybody.
Nice meeting you too,
Down
Sharon.
with your next meeting, you guys, all right? I'm having trouble filling out that become a member form for some reason. It keeps saying I'm giving invalid information. You have my email address, so just I want to stay in touch with you guys.
Okay,
we'll email you.
Yeah,
Okay,
we might be
you.
able
You guys
to.
have a good one. Keep up the
Thank
great
you.
work.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Amelia,
Stay
Be
safe.
safe.
Dawn, it was nice seeing you again too. Dorothy, thank you all. And
Yeah, and it was a pleasure seeing you in the space,
Yeah.
Emiliano.
Thank you. Bye.
Great seeing you, Adriana, again.
All right,
Yep.
take care, everybody. Nice meeting everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, y'all.